Pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law, General 30A and 20, and the Governor's March 15, 2020 order imposing strict limitation on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Select Board will be conducted via remote participation. With this meeting, members of the public who wish to watch the open session portion of the meeting may do so by viewing on Dalton Community TV, channel 1301, or via the Zoom link on the agenda. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the open session portion of the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event that we are unable to do so, despite our best efforts, we will post it on the town's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. Okay, this meeting is again called to order. All those able, please stand up for the pledge.
Yes.
And Mr. Diver, would you please lead us in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Gotta put a flag on the screen.
I got one way up above my bookcase so I don't think you can see it. Okay, Brittany, would you please do the roll call?
Yes, Chair Robert Bishop,
Here.
Joseph Diver,
Here.
John Boyle,
Here.
Dan Esco.
Here.
We have our new town manager, Tom Hutchinson,
Here.
and absent at the moment would be Mark Strout.
Yeah, he's excused, but he will be here shortly. Okay, we have no minutes. Okay, this next section is the time the public to address the board on any item of the meeting agenda or any matter or issue of the town. If you intend on addressing the board at this time, we ask you to do the following. Since I turned the page. Please identify yourself by name, address, or the company/institution you represent. The public address to the board segment will last no longer than 30 minutes. Make your comments concise and try not to repeat statements made by others. Please address your comments to the board chair. Discussion or debate on any issue may not take place at this time. The chair or the designee may answer questions on procedural matters. Please be cordial and respectful of others. If anyone wishes to be recognized when the board discusses an agenda item, please make the request at this time. The board chair may grant this request, address comments to the board chair, and be concise. Is there anyone out there who would like to speak on any items or any other issues of the town? All right, hearing none, seeing none. Then we'll go right to number 6, the appointment of Dalton Waste Management and Recycle Commission. Let's see. We have a, whoops, I got the wrong one. Request from our town manager to the appointment to the Waste Management and Recycle Committee of William Drosine. Mr. Divers, would you make the motion, please?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the ratification of the appointment of Mr. Drosine to the Dalton Waste Management and Recycling Committee as recommended by our town manager, Mr. Tom Hutchinson.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. The motion been made, seconded. Is there any further comments or discussion? Just like to say thanks, Bill, for stepping up. Appreciate it.
I'm not sure.
Thank you, Bill.
Quite sure what I signed up for, but we'll work on it.
Called baptism by fire, buddy.
I've been living with that lately.
Oh, yeah, I love it. Okay. Thank you, Bill. Any other discussions or comments? Okay, roll call vote, Mr. Boyle.
Yes.
Mr. Esco.
Yes.
Mr. Diver.
Yes.
Mr. Bishop, yes. Congratulations. Okay, this next item 7 is a COA reopening. Kelly, can you work with Tom and get your PowerPoint up on there?
You should be able to share now.
You're muted.
You should be able to share now.
Can people see that?
Yep.
Looks great.
Right. Okay. So I just met with the Board of Health and they did approve my plan. I'm going to try and skip over some of this. I'll show some of the slides because you haven't seen them yet. So you can see some of the things we do. Some of them are from a historical nature. But if you can't see the slide and you're in gallery view, you can switch your screen over to just the speaker view, and then it'll show the slide. So first off is the Dalton Council on Aging is committed to withholding all the protocols for enforcing the safety rules, which is the maintaining the 6-foot distance, wearing masks indoors, unless of course they're there for a congregate meal, and then sanitizing upon entry into the building. We won't be handling money, so the programs are just going to be offered on a donation basis. So we'll put a bucket out or something if anybody wants to contribute to keep the programs going. So it's going to take a team effort. We are expecting that any program instructors also assist with sanitizing after the programs are over. Doran and I will sanitize earlier before they come in. And the programs have all been staggered, so there shouldn't be any crossover between people entering the building or exiting the building. So we are putting the 6-foot markers on the floors. We already have markers on the floors for the direction people are going to be entering and exiting the building. We may change an exit for programs that are in the big room to one of the fire exits and have them exit that way rather than coming in the entrance, the main doors. We do have a book for sanitizing, so this will show you an example of how we're going to monitor that, and mainly that's more for us to know, to double check and make sure that we're sanitizing in between the building usage. So this is a little bit of historical perspective. So the senior center was closed on March 13th. We did suspend the van for 2 months and utilized volunteers for food shopping and pharmacy, and did grab-and-go meals and delivered the meals for people who normally took the van in. Okay. And then these are some of the things that we did for keeping in touch with people. I'm still doing the telephone bingo and the newsletter. We're still sending out notes and greeting cards and doing wellness calls. And then DCTV is still running the osteo exercise program. We may ask them to continue doing that even after we're open, because not everybody is ready to come back to the center yet and be in a group of people. Our maximum for any class is going to be 15, including the instructors. So they'll be fairly small groups. And then the caregiver support group is going to continue via Zoom. But this month, the Council on Aging board meeting will be in person. So we did some special events. We did the Veterans Day changing of the flag, and you can see the photograph in the top right corner. And that's how people were socially distanced in the parking lot. And then we did the grab and go dinners. I know a couple of you were there to help thank the volunteers, and that was a lot of fun. So our target opening date is May 17th, but Dalton is still in the yellow, so I don't have high hopes for that date. From Dr. Doyle did say that he was expecting that Dalton would move into the green probably within a couple of weeks. So if that's the case, hopefully we'll be able to open the following Monday. Like I said, this plan was approved by the Board of Health, and then the participants will each receive all the instructions in writing, so. And then we'll be screening guests, so for shortness of breath, asking them if they have any of these symptoms, new cough, fever, shortness of breath, to please stay home. We're gonna pre-screen upon entry, and we're not gonna take their temperatures. I think that's rather invasive, but if they appear ill, we will take their temperature. If they're sent home, we're going to send them home with instructions on how to monitor their symptoms and when and if they should contact their physician. And these are the questions we'll be asking them. And then we're going to keep the center closed. The doors will still be locked. People will have to have an appointment to come in or to pre-register for the class. We're not going to take same-day registrations, and ask people not to arrive early, because that's when they tend to gather and not pay attention to the 6 foot. We are going to get a pop-up tent and some outdoor chairs, so if people want to visit either before or after the class, they'll be able to do so outside and have some protection. We do have the big tent up, but that's kind of far away. So, that's more for holding a class, not so much for, a couple people sitting and talking. Like I said, pre-registration is required. Hand washing or sanitation is required upon entering the building. Instead of using our touch screen for registering people in the building, we have a handheld one that we use on the van. Scan their cards when they come in, and that way it's all touchless. Masks will be required at all times in the building except when eating and drinking, and then social distancing. So on the congregate meals, we're going to have 4 to a 6 foot table. They'll have to wear their masks until they're served. The meals, because they come from elder services, are coming in sealed packaging, so they'll open their own package. There's going to be no self-service for coffee and water. That'll be also served. And people will have to stay where, whatever seat they pick, that's where they're going to be sitting. So the notable changes is that the pre-registration is going to be strictly enforced. Soup and sandwich is suspended, and Sunday lunch is suspended. The cafe is going to remain closed because all those situations, people don't social distance. And there'll be no shared food and beverages to be brought into the building. So on the left is an example of like an osteoclass, and except ours will be in a circle between the 2 rooms. And the picture on the right is a line dancing class, which is an actual photograph of last year when they were doing line dancing outside. And you can see how they were using the parking spots as markers. So when we can, we'll hold the classes outside. The 6 foot distance must be maintained. Masks must be worn even while exercising. The hand weights won't be used until it's safe to do so. Those will be difficult to keep sanitized. And then to bring people, for people to bring home water, because the coolers are only going to be used to refill water bottles, because when they break, they tend to all gather around the water cooler, so you might have like 8 people at the water cooler at a time. We wouldn't be able to do that and keep them socially distanced. So no entry into the building until 5 minutes before class. They'll sign in with the scanner, sanitize hands, maintain 6-foot distance, mask at all times, and only one person at the water coolers or restrooms at a time, and then exit when the class is over. And then outdoor, I did make a change from the one I sent to you, Bob, that masks are encouraged outdoors. They were required, but now that people don't have to use them outside, we're gonna just encourage them. And then if anybody enters the building, it's all the same as the other systems. They have to sanitize, they have to sign in. And then these are the programs. So these are the limits I've set, is a maximum of 8 attendees for knitting. So there'll be a single 4x4 table per participant. That was hard to say. And then under the tent, when weather permitting, quilting is a maximum of 8. They use the 6-foot tables. And then painting and art also uses 6-foot tables, and that'll be maxed at 8 because of the space it takes to use the 6-foot tables. And then breakdown and sanitation immediately following. And then poetry is maximum 4 attendees because we have to put them in the cafe. Bridge is limited to 3 tables of 4, and pitch is limited to 6 people because they use the 6-foot tables. And then no food or beverages, of course, and these are the 2 groups that tend to bring in the food and beverages. And then hand sanitizer will be available right at the tables. And then these are all the businesses that help with the reopening plan. So does anybody have any questions?
No, but I think it's a pretty solid plan, Kelly.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Oh, it looks great plan, and thank you for your leadership during this very difficult time during COVID and doing what we can do along the way. And the plan looks great. No questions on the plan.
Thank you.
Now, we can vote to open this. I'll take a motion to accept Kelly's plan to reopen the senior center.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we reopen the senior center based upon the plan as presented by Kelly.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute, go. Jane, you got something to say? Okay, let us second it, Jane, and then you can say something, okay? Do I have a second?
John seconded.
Okay, thank you, Dan. Okay, Jane.
Just want to thank Kelly for all the hard work she's put on this. As she said that the Board of Health did vote on approving the plan at earlier tonight's meeting. And I ran the numbers, and it looks like Dalton will be, unless we get 3 or more cases in the next couple of days, we'll be in green starting the next reporting period. So I just wanted to let you know, Kelly, that's something that's new information.
Oh, good. People will be very happy to hear that.
Well, it's slowly getting there, Kelly, so it's good. Okay, any other comments? Okay, we have a motion that's been seconded. Roll call vote, Mr. Boyle.
Yes.
Mr. Diver.
Yes.
Mr. Esco.
Yes.
Mr. Stroud.
Yes, Mr. Bishop, if you can also show me as present at this time.
Okay, thank you. And also, Mr. Bishop, yes. And thank you, Kelly, and thank you, Jane. Thank you for everybody involved in making this work. And it's good to see one more building starting to get back open again, so thank you.
Thank you very much.
Nice job.
Thank you.
Okay. Next, we have Traffic Commission recommendations. Dan Filio sent Tom some information on some of the stuff we had asked the Traffic Commission to look into, so I'm going to turn it over to Tom for an update.
Thank you. Yes, Dan sent a great report. On the Central and 2nd Street four-way stop, he says, Dan Esco had requested we change a two-way stop to a four-way stop due to a concern about the safety of residents in the area, and the Traffic Commission supported this change. That's short and sweet. On the Housatonic Street Bridge, he writes, about 5 to 10 years ago, the federal government and the state provided funds to rebuild Housatonic Street. This project had been on the books for about 20 years. During the planning stage, it was decided to remove the replacement of the bridge located on Housatonic Street near the intersection with South Carson Ave from the plan, supposedly due to the cost. Select Board member John Boyle made the suggestion that the town approach Representative Neal's office and request that the plan be considered for infrastructure funding that was being considered by the federal government. He requested that the Traffic Commission review the area and consider supporting his request. Mr. Boyle presented his reasoning to the Traffic Commission and explained why he thought it would be a good project for consideration. After hearing his presentation and some other information from Highway Superintendent John Ruffley, the Traffic Commission voted to support the concept. At some point in time, the Traffic Commission voted to provide a letter of support to Representative Neal on the project. Everything is based on an infrastructure plan being approved by the U.S. government and funding becoming available to communities. Then he has another note on a tabled plan for 440 East Housatonic Street guardrail removal. The residents at 440 East Housatonic Street, Zabata, had requested that guardrails in front of their house be removed because they no longer served a purpose. Chairman Filio and John Ruffley from the Highway Department had been looking into the steps that would be needed. The Traffic Commission tabled the request to allow the committee to seek further information on the matter from Mass DOT. There was a question raised about whether the town would be allowed to approve the removal of the guardrails because federal funding was used on the project. So clarification is being sought. There was also a question on who would be responsible for the removal of the guardrails. And finally, he asked that I brief the board on the following action that was taken on May 3rd, 2021, regarding the Main Street pedestrian lights. The Shared Streets Grant to fund this project had an end date of May 15th, 2021. The town has hired a contractor to do the work, Daigle Electric Construction Corporation. The company had done site visits and preliminary steps to get the project complete. However, there has been a delay in getting the equipment needed to complete the project. So the town has requested an extension on the project until September 30th, 2021, which is the end date of the agreement with the contractor. This extension was approved by Mass DOT on May 3rd, 2021. The contractor has assured the highway superintendent that the work will be completed promptly once the materials arrive. Thank you, Dan.
Okay, any questions for Tom on them? All right, Tom, thank you so much.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, just a question on the Central Ave and 2nd Street request for the four-way stop. In the memo we received, it says Traffic Commission voted to request that the Select Board approve the addition. So do we need to take a vote on that particular step?
Yes, we do. Yes, Joe, we do, and thank you.
Okay. So I move that we accept the Traffic Commission's recommendation to support Mr. Esco's request of adding the four-way stop sign at Central Ave and 2nd Street.
Your second?
Thank you.
All right. Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? All right, roll call vote. John?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes,
And
I think
Mark?
it's fine that I vote.
Okay. Dan?
Yes.
Mark, and Bob?
Yes.
Okay. We'll pass it 4-0. Okay.
And I don't think we need to take a vote on the High Street Bridge going with a letter of support to Congressman Richard Neal. I think we already took that
Yeah,
vote.
we already gave our approval of that, yes.
Yeah, okay.
Mr. Chairman, may I say something about the bridge?
Yeah, go ahead, John.
Yeah. First, a few minor errors in Mr. Hutchinson's presentation. Not his errors, I think just a compilation of information about the situation. It's not the bridge, it was the accompanying walkway with the bridge. And the whole bridge repair and the walkway were eliminated. And we're trying to get the walkway back in utilizing federal funds and connect the two ends of the sidewalk and decrease a major safety consideration that the traffic commission recognized. Now, to the status of where we are with this. The application has been submitted to Representative O'Neill in conjunction with what's the name of our engineering company, GPI?
GPI, I think, yeah, was the engineering.
I'm sorry?
I think GPI was the engineering.
Yes, we believe DPI was the engineer.
Okay. GPI, Mr. Jeffrey Howie was a technical assistant. He prepared all the technical information for the town of Dalton for the submission for the insertion of the bridge project in the federal infrastructure bill that's being considered before Congress. So the application has been submitted, it has been accepted, it is currently in the legislation. That don't mean that it's a done deal. This legislation is very tenuous, a very complex process in the Congress. What ends up in it is not necessarily what you submitted at the beginning because of political considerations. So it's in the bill, and Mr. Howie from GPI is acting as a technical advisor and advocate for the town of Dalton on this by updating Mr. O'Neill's office on the technical matters regarding the bill. As far as letters of support, we've been advised at this time a letter of support from the board or the traffic commission may be academic because the process is already well underway. When this bill comes up for debate in Congress, we'll probably know more, but we are closely monitoring the process. Keep your fingers crossed.
Okay, John, keep bird dogging that, will you?
Yeah, and
Also, we were able to, the original figure when it was deleted from the project was $5 million. But the engineer said, recommended a figure of $3 million, which is practically chicken feed when you're talking about this federal funds and billions of dollars for infrastructure repairs. So Mr. Neal's office has said this is a very worthy project, easily fundable. So, as I said, we'll closely monitor it and keep your fingers crossed.
You know, one of the key reasons we're supporting this just is also because it's shovel ready. The engineering drawings are already done from the past work and ready to go. So.
You're absolutely right, Joel. Although Mr. Howie from DPI brought to our attention that the plans are somewhat out of date, but they are intact and they are essentially point away. And we've included some money in, or Mr. O'Neill's office included some money in the proposal that's going to go before Congress that includes money for updating engineering. So if we get this, it's not going to cost the town very little. And also GPI is monitoring this process by providing technical input and monitoring the process gratis. So it's a no-cost project so far.
John, if you need any help on that, let us know, okay?
Yeah, I think the biggest help is been the people at GPI, because they have the plans, they understand the plans, and they are able to communicate with O'Neill's office exactly what the project entails.
So, yeah, we're pretty set on our end, so.
Yeah, and we just gotta, like I said, sit back and hope for the best here.
Okay. Alrighty. Next, we have the contract amendment for the police chief, for the 2 weeks vacation rollover. I don't have that information sent to me. Does anybody have that they can read that, please? That request, maybe the chief can read it.
I don't have it in front of me, Bob. I'm actually in my car.
I can go.
Oh, gee, I wonder why.
I can give you a summary.
Yeah,
I can give you a summary.
okay.
So the request was, in my contract, I was given 5 days to roll over, in, I believe it was Article 3, but then further in the contract, there was a clause that I didn't lose benefits compared to other department heads, and all the other department heads could roll over 10 days, so I'm just respectfully requesting to roll over 10 days if I have that to roll over at the end of June every year.
Okay, that's simple enough. Okay, I did check with Tim, we can do this in open session, and Deanna agreed to do it in open session, so we're perfectly legal. Okay, then I'll entertain a motion to let her, Deanna, roll over 10 days of vacation.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I move that we support this contract amendment in alignment with other department heads to roll over 10 days in the contract and make the appropriate administrative changes and addendums to that contract.
Okay, thanks, John. Is there any discussion? No, this is just keeping in line with the other department heads, and I think it's a fair thing. Okay, all those in favor, let's see, Mr. Boyle,
Yes,
Mr. Diver,
Yes.
Mr. Strout,
Abstain.
okay, let's see, Mr. Dan, where are you, Dan? Dan still on?
We lost Dan.
He loses his internet connection once in a while.
He does.
Okay, and I'll vote yes, so it passes. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair,
Thank you.
Yes,
if I may remind the board that there will be a document to sign, which will be on the table in the conference room, and
Okay.
and that will be her letter with a second sheet with all your signatures on it, and there may be a couple of other pieces there too.
all right, thank you, Tom.
thank you.
Okay. All right, item 10, FY22 department transfers. Now, Tom, I'll turn this over to you, and I know Sandy's there also, so,
Yeah, so I will turn it over to Sandy.
okay.
Okay, so do you have your, there's 3 of them. I didn't get a chance to do any others. And it doesn't matter anyway, because I think the finance has not signed the others that I was gonna do as well, so that can wait till the next meeting. So the first one that you should have is that the transferring accounting salaries to town manager salary one? Or which one
Yep.
are you looking at?
That's what I got.
That's one I have. Yep.
So, this is to transfer from my accounting salaries, which has 8 months or more of salary left over since I've been in the interim town manager position. So I've transferred, I'm asking to transfer $10,000 from the accounting salaries to the town manager salaries, and that will be enough to get payment of our new town manager through June 30th.
Okay. Thank you, Sandy. Motion, please.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the request to transfer from the accounting salaries to the town manager salaries in accordance with Chapter 77 of the Acts of 2006, General Law 44, Section 33B of Mass General Laws. Transferring department account number 135 salaries with the present balance in account $50,301. to the receiving department account 123 salaries with a present balance in account 11,323 with the transfer amount requested $10,000. And this was also approved by the Finance Committee on April 28th with number present, vote in 5, and signed by our chair of the Finance Committee, Mr. Droshin.
Okay, is there a second on that motion?
Second.
Okay. The motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Okay, roll call vote. John?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes?
Mark?
Yes.
And Bob? Yes. That one's done.
So the next one is a transfer request from communication salaries to capital projects number 932. And this is a transfer request in the amount of $20,000. And that is for the repeater that has been in your talks for the last couple meetings. This is the quickest way to fund the repeater that we need. And we're able to do that just because of Mass General laws allows it to be done. So you can read through the description. If you would like me to read it to you, I will.
I think we understand that. Unless anybody wanted to read it? All right, let's go, Sandy. That's fine.
Okay, so did you say yes, read it, or
No,
not?
don't bother. We know about this. We've hashed it out before.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman, not on this issue, but for Mr. Hutchinson, Dan Esco is now in the waiting room. He got his internet back up, so he just sent me a text. So, sorry for the interruption.
Oh, that's fine. That's what we need to know there.
So it says it is not giving me an, there we go, sorry.
He's back.
Welcome back, Dan.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dan.
I hope you guys just continued on.
We did, buddy. We did.
Good.
Okay, we're on the, just to catch you up, we're on the departmental transfer. We're on the second one. For communication salaries to capital projects 932.
Ready for the motion?
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the request to transfer from the communication salaries to the capital projects number 932 in accordance with Chapter 77 of the Acts of 2006, General Law 44, Section 33B of the Mass General Laws. Transfer in department account 222 salaries with a present balance in the account of $150,000 to the receiving department account 932 expense with a present balance in the account of 0. Transfer amount requested $20,000 in support of the radio repeater system, and as submitted by Sandra Albino and also approved by our Finance Committee on April 28th with a transfer vote in the amount of $20,000 with number present, vote in 5, and signed by our chair of the Finance Committee, Mr. Droshin.
Second?
Second.
Okay. The motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion or comments? Okay, roll call vote. Mr. Divers?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Mark?
Abstain.
Okay, and Bob, yes. Thank you, because that's important. That's a safety issue. Appreciate it.
Okay, and
Mr. Chairman, I know we already voted, but can I just ask a question?
Go ahead, John.
We talked about application for a grant being being applied for, with it possibly being the answer to the grant being received on or about the 15th of May, or to pay for the repeater. So are we gonna wait till the 15th to see if this grant, we get this grant, or are we just gonna go spend it on money? On or about the 15th. Or to pay for the repeater. Is the grant, or
Can I answer that, Mr. Bishop?
Yeah, go ahead, Chief.
So the grant that we applied for shall be awarded approximately May 28th. We got confirmation from the grant that they will not reimburse a purchase if we pre-purchase. In the meantime, the Berkshire County Sheriff's Department has loaned us the equipment, and Pittsfield Communications has installed it for free. So we are currently up and running with loaned equipment, and we are waiting, to see if we get the grant, and then we will proceed on from there.
Okay,
If you can,
so we get the grant, we don't use this money, correct?
right.
Okay, thank you, Deanna, for all your hard work on that. Did that answer your question, John?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay, Sandy, your third one?
The third one is a transfer request from communication salaries to recording secretary salaries in the amount of $4,000. This is being requested because there's not enough left in the account to take care of what we are currently doing since the town planner position has been
Vacant.
vacant. There we go. Looking for that word. So anyway, one of the recording secretaries, Christine, is currently working administratively on the boards and commissions that are under the purview of the town planner. She makes sure emails go unnoticed, meetings and agendas are still posted properly, and any other administrative tasks that come about. So we just wanted to make sure, well, we needed to make sure that there was enough money to keep paying her to do this administrative work until a town planner is appointed. So this is only through June 30th. Once July 1st comes along, the whole budget is back whole, so that if Christine still continues to do that administrative task, that will not be an issue in the beginning of FY22.
Okay. That explain it to everybody? Anybody got any questions on that? Okay, Joe, I'll entertain a motion, please.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the request to transfer from the communication salaries to the recording secretary salaries in accordance with Chapter 77 of the Acts of 2006, General Law 44, Section 33B of the Mass General Laws. Transferring department account number 222 salaries with a present balance in the account of $130,000 to the receiving department account 154 salaries, present balance in the account $1,073 with a transfer amount requested $4,000 as submitted by Town Accountant Sandra Albino and approved by our Finance Committee on April 28th with number present voting 5 and signed by Finance Committee Chair Mr. Droshine.
Okay. Do I have a second on that?
Second.
Okay, a motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Okay, roll call vote. John?
Yes.
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
And Dan?
Yes.
And Bob, yes. All right, thank you, Sandy.
You're welcome.
Okay. The next one is our number 11, it's health agent update. This is kind of like anything Jane wants to update us on, so Jane, the floor is yours.
All right, great, thank you. I'm happy to report that the numbers in Berkshire County are going down pretty consistently. Dr. Dwell reported that they actually had single-digit numbers on certain days for Berkshire County this month, which has been great. As I had mentioned earlier, we're anticipating that the town of Dalton will be in green next, when it's reported next Thursday, or this coming Thursday. They use numbers from Sunday night, and so usually by now we have received word of any positive cases, so we remain hopeful that we'll continue on that trend. So that's one thing. The governor has been very busy putting out announcements. A lot of information went out all at once in the last week or so, including this morning, the updated guidance for youth and amateur sports came out. And so we'll be working with Central Berkshire Regional School District the CRA and some other organizations to make sure that we have clear and consistent messaging as far as, and especially for the need for there to be face coverings outdoors. And so everyone can count on hearing some information about that in the coming days. To that same end, the governor has also given out updated restaurant guidance, event guidance, performance guidance. And so an email went out to all of the town of Dalton businesses that I had information for today with just some highlights and the links so that they could make sure that they're following up on the most recent requirements for them, which will change at the end of this month. And then by August should be phased out completely. We continue to receive a lot of applications for events, especially that deal with alcohol. And so what I've just been putting on there is that they need to be corresponding and following the most recent guidance, realizing that we won't necessarily know what that is, especially if they're applying for something next month. Everything is based on the current numbers and vaccination numbers. The more people that get vaccinated, it really is showing in the reduced number of cases. So, we just kind of keep trucking along and trying to help people figure out where to stand. That seems to be a major role of the Board of Health right now.
Hey, Jane, what are the limits on outdoor, like, parties and stuff like that, and indoor venues that can open up and have music and stuff?
So what's new, just starting today, from last week, is it remains to be 100 people indoors at an event venue. What does that mean? That means something that you can hold, that you can rent out, or a town park, or a public space. It's 100 people indoors and 150 outdoors. This is in contrast to private events that would be like in your backyard or your home, which have remained at 10 and 25, 10 being the indoor, 25 being the outdoor. And the reason for this is that's really what we're seeing as far as cases being spread really are on those small gatherings in people's homes where people are really comfortable and tend to be stay closer to each other. So that's currently how it is. Starting in March 29th, that number is going to go up to, I believe, 150 indoors and 250 outdoors. And we are not sure if the at private or backyard or home capacity limits will change at that time. I think the biggest thing that people are confused about is what the governor has said, if you can be outside and maintain social distancing, that you can not have your face covering on, but that's just for like living your life. But when you're at an actual event, the guidance is currently that people still need to wear their face coverings unless they're eating or drinking. And then with the sports guidance that just came out, it looks like, and we're going to talk about this tomorrow, that there really wasn't guidance for the actual spectators, but some of the sports will continue to need to wear face coverings. But some of the lower and moderate risk sports will no longer. And again, that's what we'll be sending messaging out tomorrow, probably by 1 or 2 o'clock throughout Dalton.
All right, thank you again for all your great work for the town. We appreciate it, and keeping our businesses informed. Anyone have any questions for Jane?
Forgive me, Bob, later on in the meeting, is there anything on the agenda regarding talking about the extension of alcohol licenses outdoors? Did that make it onto the agenda?
No, it did not make it on this agenda.
Okay. So at the next meeting, I'd like to request that it be put on the agenda, those extensions that the town filed last year or last fall can be extended through the end of the emergency, and I would like to be able to offer that to the actual alcohol licensees in the town of Dalton.
Okay, we'll put it on the agenda.
Okay, thank you.
If I can remember. I'll make a note. Okay. Thank you, Jane. Okay. Okay, number 12, capital request update. Tom, I believe this is you.
Yes. I haven't had a lot of time to bring things together, but a whole lot of things are queued up here for a late June special town meeting. First, the usual authorization for Chapter 90 local aid use. Second, we should pass a match for a Walker Brook grant. It's a 25% match of a $200,000 FEMA grant. And that would be possibly through borrowing. There are other items that we might want to do through borrowing that have to do with the police department. Their E911 recording and equipment and software, and together with the police department, the town hall telephone system and wiring, and additional costs, labor costs associated with that. Those would total $25,000 for a total of possible. And sorry, those would be funded through either borrowing or probably more likely capital stabilization. So $50,000 in borrowing and $25,000 in capital stabilization for those. A few more capital stabilization items from the police: new server. They requested, excuse me, they requested a Ford 150 pickup truck. There was some discussion with the Finance Committee chair to consider that, to work to change that request to a cruiser, and also to convert a cruiser for the K9 patrol, and all those would also come from capital stabilization. Those would total almost $80,000. So that would be a total of $105,000 from capital stabilization. In addition, we will need to come up with a good number for asbestos removal on the 3rd floor in order to do some of the wiring and the IT work that'll have to be done after that, as well as just to get it out of there. I was very surprised to see the extent of the problem in the attic, and the Finance Committee chair and the building superintendent, buildings and grounds superintendent, and I are going to meet tomorrow to go over that. And the Finance Committee chair has a different idea of the scope of the project. I think he wants to take care of more of it all at once. The building superintendent, I think, was trying to see what could be done to legally fulfill our obligations and at a cheaper cost. So I think it's great that the Finance Committee chair has an understanding of the seriousness of the problem. It's actually a pretty bad situation for the 2nd floor here due to the construction of the drop ceiling and the way the insulation was installed on top of that. It's not a good situation at all, and there's quite a possibility that we'll have to find either remote work or another site for the 2nd floor staff to work while this is being done. It's a major project, and staff are looking for the files now that were with the town planner in order to find out what the early estimates of that were. But we're going to have to look for some quotes pretty quickly, and any suggestions for companies that I could ask to take a look at it and provide, a rough figure that would get us through the special town meeting would be very much appreciated. There were a couple of items that were submitted for capital articles that really didn't rise to the level of capital articles with the senior center, and those are going to be funded through their building and maintenance account and their programs account. One of them was a new copier, and one of them was roof cables for de-icing the roof. They're relatively small amounts and should well fit under their operations expenses. So that's what it's looking like. And there's a question of timing, because special town meetings require 2-week notification, which means that the regular June 14th meeting is actually too late to sign the warrant. So I expect to have a draft warrant prepared for the May 24th meeting, but I understand that people's questions may not be able to be answered at that point. So there are 3 weeks between May 24th and June 14th. And I might unhappily have to suggest an interim select board meeting, perhaps on June 7th, to cover any items that people have questions about regarding that warrant, if it's going to happen on June 28th.
We can make that happen, Tom.
And if anyone has any questions about any of those items, please get them to me as soon as possible so we can satisfy your questions, early and maybe have a shot at a warrant on May 24th.
Okay,
And can I make a comment, Mr. Chair?
absolutely, Sandy.
And Tom does not know this yet. It just came to my mind that Berry Architects were the engineers that developed a very large document about insulating the attic. And I discovered in that document references to the asbestos. So I am going to give Tom a copy of that along with a copy of the engineering contract with Berry Architects, and he will be able to probably have better information after he looks at that.
Perfect, thank you. Good catch. Okay, any other questions or comments for Tom?
Select Board Chair, I'd like to speak, if you would, please.
Go ahead, Bill.
Concerning the asbestos, one of the things when it comes to the asbestos, the reason I suggested, and hopefully the Select Board will agree, is asbestos isn't going to go away. And we have a relatively, I haven't seen the room, but I understand we have a relatively large room up there that would go a long ways to helping us. Removal of that asbestos is, I would say, is the utmost of importance. And I use the example of the Lennox, I think it was the middle school recently reopened and then had to close again because they found some asbestos had gotten loose in their building. So the removal of this, I think, is tantamount to making sure that our IT system goes through smoothly, and also so it does not tax the funds that are going to be used from, I believe, a grant or another borrowing that we had for the IT system. So in other words, we're going to focus on the asbestos, hopefully, and be able to get that taken care of, and then get the IT done. It just seems to me to be a better appropriation of funds, not removing the asbestos underneath the guise of the IT system. That's kind of why I went in that direction with it. So I would advocate that at this point, and tomorrow I'm going to get a chance to get up there and get a look at it,
and hopefully I'll be able to, I'll try and send an email around to one and all about what the findings were, in the hopes that you'll be able to have a better understanding of what we have up there to work with. And I do have the names of a couple of companies. One is a great local company that can probably help us out with this.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thanks.
And if I can just add, I know Tom's already aware of this because we had just shared an email this morning, but just for transparency with the board as well, is that I think you all know that we've seen a couple of complaints about the street line painting or the opportunity to improve that. So we have complaints from certainly Dalton Division, and then up Mount Washington, and then some other streets along the way, Grange and South that kind of bear. So I don't know where that falls, if that's a capital item or if that's something we plan to operate in. But just for the board, as I kind of shared that, seeing that trend, we had one complaint back in December. There was no letter to the editor that came through. And I just kind of took a look around town and see a lot of bare spots on major traveled roads. But I'll leave that to Mr. Hutchinson's plan in there, but just for the board, just kind of bringing that up.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Anyone else? Okay. Okay, National Police Officer Week. We'll have to sign this. Mr. Dibbert, would you read that memo we got, please?
Go off mute. Yes, this is a memo from Chief Strout to Mr. Hutchinson and Chairman Bishop and the Select Board members regarding National Peace Officers Week. And Congress has declared May 9th through the 16th as National Police Week, and May 15th to 2021 specifically as Peace Officers Memorial Day. And the Chief has attached a proclamation for the Select Board members, and we respectfully request the Town Hall flag be lowered to half-staff on May 15th, 2021. So it's a, Mr. Chairman, would you like me to read the proclamation for the audience and for the record?
If you're up to it, sure. It's quite lengthy, but go for it.
It's quite lengthy, so bear with me in my Boston accent, if you may.
I love it.
Okay, so, Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the proclamation of the Select Board declaring May 9th to May 16th as National Police Week, whereas the Congress and President of the United States have designated May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day, and the week in which May 15th falls as National Police Week. And whereas the members of the law enforcement agency of the town of Dalton play an essential role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of Dalton, and whereas it is important that all citizens know and understand the duties, responsibilities, hazards, and sacrifices of the law enforcement agency, and that members of our law enforcement agency recognize their duty to serve the people by safeguarding life and property, by protecting them against violence and disorder, and by protecting the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression. And whereas the men and women of the law enforcement agency of the town of Dalton unceasingly provide a vital public service. Now therefore the Select Board of the town of Dalton calls upon all citizens of Dalton and upon all patriotic, civic, and educational organizations to observe the week of May 10th through May 16, 2021 as Police Week with appropriate ceremonies and observances in which all of our people may join in, commemorating law enforcement officers past and present who, by their faithful and loyal devotion to their responsibilities, have rendered a dedicated service to their communities, and in so doing, have established for themselves an inviolable and enduring reputation for preserving the rights and security of all citizens. The Select Board further calls upon all citizens of the town of Dalton to observe May 15th as Peace Officers Memorial Day in honor of those law enforcement officers who, through their courageous deeds, have made the ultimate sacrifice in service to the community or have become disabled in the performance of duty, and let us recognize and pay respect to the survivors of our fallen heroes. In addition, the flag of the town hall shall be flown at half-staff on May 15, 2021, in remembrance of law enforcement officers who have died while protecting the lives and freedoms of others. And a copy of this proclamation shall be delivered to the Chief of Police and each officer of the Dalton Police Department in recognition of said National Police Week and Peace Officer Memorial Day. Hence, on this day, let's use today's date. What is today's date? May 10th, 2021. We have hereunto set our hands and caused the sale of Dalton to be affixed. So we will go ahead and sign this. But I do want to make a, Mr. Mr. Hutchinson, if Judy can help us, there is one typo here. It has May 15th, 2019 in the proclamation. If we can change that to 2021, that would be good.
Will do.
And then with that, Mr. Chairman, that's a motion to accept the proclamation.
Okay, is there a second? Thank you, Bob. Okay, motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? I really like it. This is good. We should, you know, everybody bashes the police sometimes and stuff, but they're out there protecting us. I mean, they're putting their lives on the line every day. Okay, with that, any other questions or comments?
Yeah, Joe, where's that grammatical error?
Right here, Jeff.
If, I just closed it. Hold on. Pull it up again, John.
Because I got one on mine too, but it's May 10th to May 16th, 2020. I know one.
Yeah, you picked up a second one, John. Thank you. You picked up a second one there, John. Thank you for that. Yep. Yes, so in the
Where's the first one?
fifth paragraph, there's a date change that needs to occur.
Yes, I believe the chief sent out a revised version, and I'll make sure that that's the one that you sign.
Okay. Yeah, please stop by tomorrow and sign this if you can.
Yeah. And John, thank you for picking up that second one. Appreciate it.
Okay. All right. Any other comments or concerns? Okay, roll call vote. Mr. Boyle?
Yes.
Mr. Esco?
Hey, Bob, Dan's having some major internet issues, so he's not going to be able to get on for the rest of the meeting.
Okay. Okay, Mr. Divers?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
And Ms. Bishop, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Next, on item 14, we have the approval of the assistance of the police department in securing information for the finalization of the annual street listing. I do believe this is a memo or a request from Deb Murray, if I'm not wrong.
Yes.
Mr. Tom?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, I do not have that in front of me. I don't even know why. I cannot even find it, but, does anybody have a copy of it?
No, I don't. There's an attachment in the packet, but it's coming up with an error.
That's what I had. That's what I got. I got a big error when I tried to print it out.
Yeah.
It was very simple, just a couple of lines. They need the select board approval to direct the police department to assist them as they are out in the field. This is just so that the police department will respond to them with a certain priority.
Oh, yes, okay. Okay, does everybody understand that? Okay, motion to accept that.
Motion to accept as presented by Town Manager, Mr. Hutchinson.
Second.
Okay, the motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Okay, roll call vote. Mr. Boyle?
Yes.
Mr. Diver?
Yes.
And Mr. Stroud?
Yes.
And Mr. Bishop, yes. Okay. Okay, Tom, this is your first update, buddy, and it's all yours.
Thank you. This may be a little bit longer than the rest of them that I'll give. I was sworn in just last Monday and registered to vote at the same time. That evening I attended a town meeting that must have set a record for brevity, and I thank the town for its support of the proposed budget. Of course, I've been talking a lot with Sandy, who's been invaluable as a guide to the complexities of current events, and I'm sure I'll be relying on her heavily for quite some time. I've had numerous and substantive meetings with many department heads, including the town clerk, the treasurer, the buildings and grounds manager, the health agent, the emergency management director, who's of course also the chair of the traffic commission and who briefed me on Walker Brook flooding, the police chief, and a brief, as I mentioned before, a brief initial meeting with the highway superintendent. I'll be meeting with him again soon. Of course, Judy Wagner has been a great help in getting me settled in and oriented. I also met with the chair of the Finance Committee regarding capital expenses and a number of other matters. I've asked for a meeting regarding the position of town planner with the chair of the Planning Board and John Boyle in his capacity as chair of the Development Industrial Committee and the Redevelopment Authority. In the meantime, I've asked Judy to contact the original applicants. One of the three most qualified has unfortunately for us taken the position of town administrator in Williamsburg, so it might be best to reach out for additional candidates. I'm aware of a number of projects that need to move forward, including phone replacement and, in a related matter, and as we've heard tonight, the need for asbestos abatement on the third floor of Town Hall, through which many of our IT wires run. Bill Drosian and I will be meeting with the Buildings and Grounds Superintendent tomorrow, and Christine Simeone is tracking down recent files regarding the matter. As you've heard, Bill is initially in favor of complete removal of all third floor asbestos. Pat had been suggesting a less costly option of containment, noting that in order for the third floor to be usable as anything other than storage, it would need additional upgrades. I've reached out to see if we can get quotes soon so we can include an abatement item on the capital special town meeting. As I mentioned, the rewiring borrowing article is written too narrowly to include that as a purpose. I understand there is a need for human resources updates, including updated job descriptions and classifications, along with an updated compensation plan. Staff salaries will always be an issue, but it is proving difficult to hire staff for municipal work across the Commonwealth, and that is easy to see in Dalton as well. In contract news, I'm also aware that we need a new contract with Regional Resource Group, Inc. for next year's assessing assistance, and that FY22 union contract negotiations are coming up. It's also been brought to my attention that we do not have a contract with Spectrum. Negotiations could provide additional funds for community access television. For items I plan to bring before the board at some point, first, I plan to bring forward a policy for the new Juneteenth holiday and options for managing it. I've become aware of the town's ownership of 16 Gulf Road and plan to follow up on that soon. We've received a request from the... Oh, I'm sorry, we've already covered that. Finally, I saw from a list of past items still needing attention the creation of a social media policy and an update on street paving. I'm planning to discuss a pavement management plan with the superintendent and will work toward getting progress toward that on your agenda. Of course, I intend to convene department head and finance team meetings, but have not yet got my feet under me enough to set dates for those. In more general news, the town was reimbursed $9,820 from FEMA for COVID activities, thanks to Dan. And Dan has suggested a committee to oversee the implementation of the open space plan and has some possible volunteers in mind. This would help in getting park grants and perhaps others. He's written to the state addressing some perceived deficiencies in the open space plan and is awaiting comments. We also discussed his current emergency management work on emergency plans. I must apologize to an applicant for a one-day liquor license who did not identify herself and who I turned away because I was unaware of my ability to grant such requests. I'm now aware of the system and will do better in the future. I was able to grant a one-day liquor license to the American Legion on June 19th from 3 to 9 p.m. for a celebration of the life of Robert Waltz. Colonial Power reports that the Dalton Community Choice Aggregation Program is now listed on the Energy Switch Massachusetts website. The program's default product is displayed directly under the basic service product regardless of the filters used, and optional products are listed and sorted based on the filters of price or renewable content. Finally, the U.S. Treasury Department has just today issued a highly anticipated guidance on the American Rescue Plan Act through an interim final rule. Massachusetts stands to get about $385 million, with 38 cities earmarked for additional funds, including $34 million for Pittsfield, and Berkshire County getting a further additional $24 million. So those are some of the things that have occupied my last week.
Hey, that all, Tom? When did you sleep?
I got good sleep, thank you.
All right, thank you, Tom. Any questions for Tom on any of them?
No questions, but Mr. Hutchinson, that was a phenomenal update and very, very detailed and very much appreciated. So welcome to Dalton, and thank you for all that great work in week number 1. So
Thank you very much.
Okay, John?
Yeah. Tom, you're gonna discuss a pavement plan. I gather that probably be for this current year and possible years in the future. Last year, we had a major pavement plan. We had adapted it, and we're planning to go forward with it. It involved a lot of smaller streets off of Pleasant Street, but and including Pleasant Street. And then we were forced, because of financial issues, to delete Pleasant Street from the plan overall. The residents in that area were very, very disappointed. They thought we should have done Pleasant Street first and do the side street second. But anyway, when you talk to the town road superintendent, can you mention ask if Pleasant Street is included in this year's pavement plan? And could you bring back to the board what streets are planned? Well, residents ask us, we can respond to that.
Be happy to.
And just one other thing, Mr. Chairman. Tom, I'm not here to try to add to your workload, but I'm certain the board's going to recall we took an action almost 2 years ago to sell the properties that we now own, which are encumbered with APR restrictions. And we're going to sell them at an open auction at the chairman's suggestion, and it was adapted by the board. We set a price of $1,000 an acre.
Yeah, John, Joe and I met with, on that, Joe and I met with Dickin, and I got a name down at the agriculture department that can kind of like guide us how to do this. So I am going to email her, but I wanted to talk to Tom and put Tom up to speed in this before I emailed her. And actually, I probably should let Tom email her. It should come from Tom.
Well,
I'll swing by and get Tom up to date on that.
yeah, I mean, it was almost 2 years ago we voted to do that. And then COVID came along and,
Yeah, it's a shame
complex.
it's not getting used.
Yeah, it's a complex issue, putting things up for auction. It takes a lot of activity and work on behalf of the town treasurer, who is charged with being in charge of town-owned property.
yeah, Mr. Chairman, maybe we can just go ahead and move that to a future agenda and bring Tom up to speed, and then get the communication up to the state, and then see what guidance we have.
I'll see when Tom's available. I'll send Tom an email later, see what he's got for time. And I'll go over this week and talk to him about it, and then we'll set it on the next agenda, okay?
Great.
Okay, anything else? All right. That's next on the list here. Okay, items not anticipated 48 hours for the meeting. Tom, I do believe you had one, and I have one.
Yes, I think there are two. The first is, I believe this was previously discussed, that the assessor she was hired at the first step in a lower grade, and it did not include her experience of decades being an assessor. I understand she is an elected assessor in the town of Worthington and has been for many decades. So we are proposing that
Yeah, how you doing? I don't know yet.
Hang on.
We're having a select meeting.
Hey, John, mute yourself.
Got him. I got him. we are proposing that she be given an actual raise based on her qualifications. And that would include a step increase, a grade increase, and step increases to the middle of that grade. And perhaps Sandra can add to that, but that's what I understand is the situation.
So, so currently, Jean is on grade 8, and I propose to move her to step 7, which is the last step with 18 plus years of service. So she has 30, when she started, she had 35 years of service, and she was put on step 1, which is 0 years of service. So and I think we've talked about this, Bob, before.
We did, Sandy.
And I didn't know if we brought it before all of the select board before, which is why we're doing it now.
No, I don't think we did.
And so I'm proposing that she go to step 7, and then in FY22, when we prepared the budget for 22, I discussed with the board that I was going to promote her to principal assessor beginning July 1st, which means she would go to grade 9, and then if you so approve, she will be at the last step for that too, because of her service. So it's in the budget already, was approved at town meeting. I ran that by the finance committee as well when I presented that budget to them for FY22. So this is the first step of letting Jean, the assessor, the number 1 assessor right now, who has taken over all the duties that Laura did after she retired. And maybe I shouldn't be using names. I'm sorry if I'm. But.
Mr. Chairman, can I just have a quick, Mr. Chairman, can I just have a quick point of order just for clarity for the record?
Sure.
So we're on agenda item 16 for items not anticipated 48 hours before the meeting. I'm assuming this particular issue wasn't known to our town manager before 48 hours, just so we're in line with open meeting law. Is that the purpose of this discussion?
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and it also, I believe, requires action sooner rather than later.
Yes. It's been an ongoing topic since January.
Yep. Okay, so I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept the recommendation of our town manager, Mr. Hutchinson, for the pay increase for our town assessor.
A second?
Second.
Okay, a motion's been made and seconded. Is there any further discussion? John, you're on mute.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, good. Can you hear us, John?
Yep,
Okay. Okay, roll call vote. John?
yes,
Mark?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
And Bob, yes. Thank you, Sandy, for correcting that.
No problem.
Okay, the other information that we had, we just got an answer back on Friday. That's why we couldn't have put it on the agenda. Mr. Ruffley filed 2 complaints of open meeting laws for us, and I have a prepared statement back from Tim Zesson, our attorney, and we need to vote on that for his reply to these 2 open meeting laws. Okay, I will read you his responses. Everybody's seen the complaints, right?
no,
Well, they're in the box, John, you signed them.
Yeah, they're in the inbox.
You want me to read the complaints? I'll do that.
You mean the mailbox in town hall?
Yeah, you signed them.
Okay,
Good,
fine.
good, good. You want me to read it for the record? I can do that.
Yeah, I would read it for, Mr. Chairman, if I may. I would like to request that you read it for the record.
Okay, do you want to do that, Joe? Because I'm about like running on fumes.
I'd rather not, because my name.
Okay, that's right, okay, I got it, gotcha. Okay, this was for the town of Dalton on dated 4/26/2021 by John Ruffley, the first one. And he says, on 4/27/21, board members continue to discuss my name, contract, and character via email with all members attached in the email thread. The chairman Bishop also sent an email recognizing the fact they may be in violation as he was still violating the open meeting law by attaching the entire board. This violation is continued from a meeting on 4/26 where they're also in violation. Please investigate the open meeting law complaint filed regarding the open meeting law violation at the board's meeting on 4/26. See attached emails for this violation investigation. I request that the Office of Attorney General ultimately invest the boards and penalize them accordingly.
Did you see those?
Yes.
And, let's see, this was originally a request from Mr. Givers to, Joe, help me out, I don't have that on here.
Yeah, it was a request to you, Mr. Chairman, for an executive session regarding the matter of the town related to tree warden.
Okay, all right, and you sent that to the board members.
Correct.
And then Mr. Boyle responded with some pretty strong language there, and then I responded by saying, look it, we are in violation of open meeting law, do not respond to any of these emails, but call me direct, and I gave my cell phone number. Okay, part of this I'll read, and I'll read the other violation, then I'll read our lawyer's response because they're rolled into one. And this one was dated 4/27/21 by Mr. Ruffley. During the town manager's updates at the select board meeting on 4/26, which item number 13 on the agenda, my tree warden job duty with my highway superintendent contract was brought up by the interim town manager, Sandy Avino, who said my full name to the board. Okay. The board and the interim town managers continued discussion regarding my contract, my performance, and talked about having this on an executive session in the future. Then the discussion was voted on. After discussion, another town manager update regarding the roundabout was ensued with a shared screen and discussions back and forth about a very public project that is being led by Mass DOT. It is my opinion this should be on its own agenda item since it concerns the public welfare of the residents. This discussion carried over for 15 minutes. The meeting says, I'd like to have a full investigation into their practice of handling item agendas, as well as bringing up my name, job performance, and my contract without posting this properly as an agenda item and notifying me in advance. And our response from Tim Zessen. Dear Mrs. Benlin, this is to the Division of Open Meeting Government, the Office of the Attorney General. The Town of Dalton Select Board is in receipt of 2 open meeting law complaints submitted by Mr. John Ruffley, the complainant, and dated April 26th and April 27th, 2021. Individually, the April 22nd, 26th complaint or April 27th complaint, and collectively the complaints. A copy of the April 26th complaint is enclosed as Exhibit 1, and a copy of the April 27th complaint is enclosed as Exhibit 2. The board included the complaints on its meeting notice for May 10th, 2021, meeting during which the board reviewed the allegations, continued in the complainant, and deliberated the town regarding such matters. Following that deliberation, the board voted to authorize town council to provide this response. The complaints pertain to the board's April 26, 2021 meeting and discussions resulting therefrom. The April 26 complaint alleges the town manager during her updates to the board, discussed the complainant's tree ward's position, highway superintendent's contract, and performance and potential future executive session on the subject. Exhibit 1 at 2, the April 22nd complaint also states the board discussed a roundabout project funded by Mass DOT that complaints alleges that should have been listed as an independent agenda item. The April 27th complaint alleges board members continue to discuss the complaint and his position via email following the April 26th meeting with all board members copied on the email. The complainants request the Attorney General investigate these allegations and penalize the board accordingly. The relevant email communications are attached as Exhibit 1 at 2-4 and Exhibit 2 at 2-4. Okay, the April 26th meeting. The board's April 26th meeting included an agenda item for town manager updates. See the agenda attached. During the town manager's update, the first update concerned the town's tree warden position, the complainant. The town reminded the board that the complainant had recently submitted a resignation letter with respect to his tree warden position, and that the town manager had not accepted his resignation letter, and that the town manager was not going to request the complainant to continue, the town manager was going to request the complainant continue to serve as tree warden. See Note 2, 133, 35 and 35. The town manager requested the board's support for the approach, and a discussion of tree warden position ensued, with one board member suggesting the discussion be tabled for a future executive session, and another indicating that the tree warden position was in the scope of the complainant's existing highway superintendent's contract, i.e. the board, then voted to table the discussion. See Note 2, 138. Later on, the town manager reported a receipt of a request to include an interactive story map prepared by Mass DOT on the town's website, functionally with the board. The board discussed the website and the use of comments on the website to receive community input on the project. And the board agreed that the town manager could put a link on the interactive story map on the town's website. See Note 2, 157. No formal vote on this subject was conducted. The board did not violate the open meeting law as alleged on the April 26th complaint. The complaint alleges the board violated the open meeting law by not including a separate agenda item for the discussion of the Mass DOT roundabout interactive story map, and instead discussing the subject under the agenda of town manager updates. The board submits its meeting's agenda for April 26th meeting was sufficiently detailed because it included all items that the board chair reasonably anticipated and would be discussing at the meeting when the notice was published 48 hours in advance of the April 26th meeting. The open meeting law requires public bodies to post the meetings 48 hours in advance, provides sufficient specific to be reasonable, advise the public of the issues to be discussed at the meeting. The meeting notice must include the date, time, and location of the meeting, as well as the list of topics that the chair reasonably anticipates and will be discussed at the meeting. A public body may discuss a subject not listed on the agenda if such a topic was not or could not have been reasonably anticipated as a subject of discussion 48 hours in advance. See the Open Meeting Law 2017-2. Moreover, a body may reserve a portion of the meeting for general updates from administrative municipal employees without detailing every subject that may be discussed, so long as it does not provide so much detail as possible when the notice is published. See Open Meeting Law 27-19, Town Administrator Updates, sufficiently detailed agenda item. Here the board listed the town managers on this agenda update, and that this agenda item was sufficiently detailed in light of information available to the board at the time of posting of the April 26th agenda. As the town manager indicated, when the roundabout discussion arose, she had been approached by Mass DOT about pushing their interactive story map or linking to it on the town's website. The board submits that the chair did not know or anticipate this request had or would be made when the agenda was posted. And the agenda included as much detail about the town manager's update as was available to the chair at the time of posting. Through the discussion of the roundabout was lengthy, The length of the conversations does not determine whether or not it should have been contained on the agenda. Here, just as in the open meeting law 27-90, the board included an agenda item under which the town chief's administrator officer would provide status updates to the board. And these updates were generally not pieces of business that the board members anticipated discussion. Excuse me. The board often includes this agenda item when it knows a specific topic. It will be discussed by the town manager that includes it with specific information about that subject. Therefore, because the April 26th meeting agenda include all information about the topics for discussion that, oops, excuse me, I gotta reject somebody. Yeah. Sorry. Therefore, because of the April 26th meeting agenda include all information about the topics for discussion that was available to the chair 48 hours in advance of the meeting, the board submits it did not violate the open meeting law as alleged in the April 26th complaint. The April 22nd complaint. The board acknowledges certain members may have violated the open meeting law when sending and responding to emails following the April 26th meeting. This contained a discussion over the tree warden position that, while brief, was lively. Certain board members disagreed over proper handling of the subject and future approach. Therefore, one member raised an email to the chair a procedural issue related to this discussion. As reflected in the emails attached to the complaints, a board member emailed the chair with all board members copied on the email requesting a ruling on whether or not the tree warden conversation was appropriate for a future executive session, and whether the motion to table the discussion was properly made. Exhibit 1 at 3 and Exhibit 2 at 3. A member of the board that was subject of the original mail responded with a request to the chair for an emergency open meeting to address the original email assertions made therein. Exhibit 2 at 3. Oh, God. The chair immediately responded by advising all members not to respond to this email further. Exhibit 1 at 3. The board understands that all its deliberations amongst a quorum of the board concerning matters within its jurisdiction must be conducted within proper notice of open meeting. And this includes discussion on non-substantial procedural matters such as the communications issue here. See the open meeting law 216-104. As reflected by the chair's immediate response to these emails, the board also understands email communication concerning matters within the board's jurisdiction and involving a quorum of the board constitute deliberations that are subject to the open meeting law. See open meeting law 2020-83. In fact, the board submits that the board members' response to the meeting as responding board members requested an emergency open meeting to discuss the original email, Exhibit 2 at 3. That said, the board understands that this email exchange may have technically violated the open meeting law and will use this opportunity to remind its board members the importance of not emailing or responding to emails with the majority of the board when the subject matter of the email is within the board's jurisdiction. As a result of the April 27th complaint, the board members have been provided a copy of the Attorney General's Open Meeting Law Guide, which the chair will review with the members at the next properly posted meeting. The town manager will also schedule an open meeting law training for all town boards and committees, so that all public bodies in the town will be better understand standard applied to the Attorney General with respect to deliberations and electronic communication. The board considers this remedial action sufficient and will endeavor to limit email communications amongst a quorum of the board to distribute of materials for upcoming meeting. For the reasons set forth herein, the Town of Dalton Select Board requests the Attorney General take no further action with respect to the complaints at this time. Okay, comments?
Let me make a motion to accept our attorney's response.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman, I move that we accept Attorney Zesson's response to the open meeting law complaint as you just communicated.
I'll second that.
Okay. Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion? Okay. Okay, roll call vote, John.
Abstain.
Okay, Joe.
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
Bob, yes. Okay, then we'll send that off. I'll let Tim know it's okay, okay? All right. Now. Okay, lost my agenda. In the middle of this thing, someplace. Okay, remarks of the select board. Anyone?
Just one for the community. That event for the 12th Man Group and the Lions Club on Saturday night was just simply fantastic. Nice little community event, and a lot of good laughs and chuckles. And but more importantly, Mr. Chairman, just wishing one day after Mother's Day, Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers in our community, and moms that are looking down from heaven on many of us. So Happy Mother's Day to all those moms.
Hey, anyone else?
Yeah, Bob, I'll just give you a shout out for winning re-election. It's my understanding you won. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Yeah, you guys are stuck with me for 3 more years, so. I'd like to thank everybody who came out and voted, and thank everybody who voted for me, as well as John. So, that's, anyone else? Okay, this leads us to our announcement.
Just one last congratulations to Mr. Hutchinson for a great first week and first meeting here. So again, thank you for joining the town. I'm looking forward to collaborating with you and working with you along the way.
Thank you very much.
Yes, thanks, Tom. Okay. Effective Monday, 4/5/2021, the town of Dalton will reopen the town hall to the public. Please see the town of Dalton website for departmental information. The senior center will remain closed, but now with the new update, it won't be. The Memorial Day parade has been canceled. At the but the Dalton American Legion may be doing something in their parking lot. John, if you got anything else on that?
No, Bob, but I'll make a point. The guy who's Commander Legion lives right near me. I'll go over, knock on his door. I think we're interested in that. We also really need to know if they're having an annual carnival and circus.
No carnival. That I got.
Okay.
No carnival.
What about the circus?
No, so the Lions, I remember the Lions Club, we disbanded the circus 2 years ago. We're not gonna do it ever again.
Okay, so there's no carnival, no circus. The only thing you wanna know about, I'll find out and get to you.
Okay, thank you.
I'll let you know positively by the 24th.
All right, thank you. All right, the Household Hazardous Waste Day update. There's no longer online reservations. They are full. Pre-registration is by phone only with the Tri-Town Health Department. Okay, so there's no sense reading the rest of it, so it'll be full. Okay. The open meeting law, DOG recently issued a determination that it's a violation of meeting law for the chair of public body to fail at the start of the meeting to identify by name of the members of the board who attended remotely. The open meeting law regulations state that at the start of the meeting, the chair shall announce the name of any member who will be participating remotely. And I talked to Tim about this. We're good with it. This when Brittany does the roll call, then everybody knows. Plus, everybody sees everybody doing this. Okay. All right, that's about it that I have, except the Dalton Library is now open from 12 p.m. to 5 p.m. on Monday, Thursday, and Friday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Tuesday, and 12 p.m. to 8 p.m. on Wednesday. Anyone in a high-risk population may schedule a time in the morning to come by themselves with no questions asked. Lobby pickup continues for anyone who would rather not enter the building. Call 684-6112 for more information. With that, I'll take a motion to adjourn before I wring my dog's neck.
So moved.
Second.
Did you need to do, did you need to do items for future agendas?
No, we don't have them on here, Brittany. We'll get them on next time. Okay?
Sorry.
Hey, is there a
Motion to
second?
adjourn.
Okay. Second?
Second.
Okay, roll call vote. John?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
Mark?
Yes.
All right, thank you, and good night, Dalton. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Sandy, and thank you, Dalton, for the votes.